Alright guys, we're off to the Gold Coast today. I've got the Kaiser Baas X600. We're going to go and test it out. 4K 30 frames per second, 12 meters, water resistant, 1080p 60 frames per second, slow motion. We're going to go and check it all out. So let's hit the road. I got this to replace my aging Sony one, which I've been using forever. It doesn't have 4K, it doesn't have a lot of settings on it. It's been really good and it's done the job, but I thought it was time to upgrade. Now I have taken this through its paces. I've been out surfing with it, I've been riding scooters around the city with it, I've been running with it. I've been trying to get it through as much as I can. I've had it hanging out the car at 110 kilometers per hour, underwater, hiking, all sorts of different stuff, and I think I've got a pretty fair and honest review about it. The first thing I want to mention is the build. Now it does feel very sturdy, it's got a fair bit of weight to it. You've got an 1100 milliamp hour battery on it that takes about 2.5 hours to charge, and more on the battery soon. You've got a 14 megapixel camera that does 4K 30 frames per second, 2.7K up to 60 frames per second, 1080p 60 frames per second, and then 720p at 120 frames per second as well. It is waterproof up to 12 meters without any housing or any protection, which is pretty cool because I don't really go any deeper than 12 meters. Now it does say gyro stabilization, but I'm not sure if it's 3-axis or not. It definitely has some stabilization, and more on that soon as well. It's got a 2-inch display on the back and also comes with Wi-Fi built in. Side note, the Wi-Fi shit, don't use it with Wi-Fi. It also is coming in at f2.8 aperture and has a 170-degree field of view. Now, as you can see from some of the 4K footage, I was reasonably impressed with it, but I do think at 4K, the footage and the video quality, it seems to have a fair bit of artifacting going on in it, and maybe that's just me and my expectation was too high, but I definitely can see a little bit of artifacting. When you come in at 2.7K at 60 frames per second, I think a fair bit of that is gone. And at 1080p, I can see it's still not the most amazing video quality you're going to get, but I'm still impressed with it. I mean, for a small little action camera at $229, you do get some pretty good footage. You can choose your white balance. You can have daylight, cloudy, tungsten, and then a couple of homemade sort of settings in there as well called floor L and floor H. And then you've also got auto white balance, which I never recommend. You can also change your exposure in here, so if it's too dark or too bright, you can go up to -2 exposure and +2 exposure. So you can change how your image is going to look, especially if you are in low light. Now at low light, it did start to fall apart, so do bear that in mind. I mean, once I got it off here onto the computer, it didn't look as bad as I thought, but it still needs some improvement. And here's a shot of me down at Burleigh Heads in Queensland at sunset. It was a beautiful time of day and the light looked amazing. But as you can see on this, the light was already starting to fall apart. These settings are very easy to use. I mean, it really was. I mean, you tap on the settings icon and you just choose what you want to adjust and scroll up or down and tap on something to select it. It really doesn't get much easier. Sort of reminded me a bit of like a Canon user interface, because you're just scrolling this way and selecting what you want. And it really is quite simple to use. Now for the stabilization, that's the big one these days. I mean, you're getting smartphone gimbals for $180. So you can really get some really good stabilization for a really low price these days. And for this, the stabilization was fairly good. I mean, here's some image of me running. Here's some image of me with low shot running on the scooter. I mean, it started to pick up some pretty good shots that I was impressed with. If I'm doing this for a family video from my vacation or something like that, no one is going to be like, oh, I guess you didn't use a GoPro to film this. they're going to be really impressed with what you get, especially because you can take it underwater and get all sorts of different shots. And there are 1,000,001 attachments, and it is also compatible with all the GoPro attachments as well. So if you ever feel like you need to get a chest plate to mount it to you or attach it to your helmet or your surfboard, those options are there, and you're going to have a lot of fun in getting some real point of view video footage as well. I'd say it holds up to GoPro in a lot of ways, but the one area where it would need to improve is that stabilization. It's just off, but also the footage. It's a little bit artifacty in the higher video resolution settings, so you do have to bear that in mind as well. And if you have this fixed to something, so I had it fixed to the handlebars of an electric scooter, and the stabilization, I mean, it was just bouncing all over the place, and it was really hard to get a stable footage. But as soon as I held it off the handlebars and held it on a tripod while I was riding the scooter, you can see here all of a sudden the footage is nice and smooth, and there's not really much jitter going on at all. And the same for running. Look, running is hard to do with stabilization. With your really high-end expensive gimbals, you're going to get some stabilized footage no matter how you run. But with the X600, it's all over the shop a little bit, and it does struggle to get a good view while you're running. Now that's with it held this far away from me. If I was, say, filming someone else and running a little bit further away from them, I could get a really stable shot. So a lot of it does come down to your skill as a user. I didn't have any problems with water getting into this. There was no leakage in any of the ports. So you've got USB Type-C in here that you can charge it with. Now battery life, it was terrible. I'm talking 25 minutes of footage total, and the battery was flat. And I can't find one. I couldn't find one in the retail stores where they sell this. I couldn't find one on their website that's going to fit this. Maybe that's changed by now. Kaiser Baas, maybe chuck in a spare battery with the package, because man, nothing worse than going out to do some filming, 25 minutes in, no battery, and you've got to go run around and find a portable charger. And that's the one saving grace it did have, is that you can charge it via USB Type-C, and you don't have to take the battery out. You just plug it in and charge it as you go. That's okay if you've got a portable charger or if you're driving from one location to the other. So for me, if I was out and about, like yesterday, I went into the city and I was getting some shots of me on the scooter and running and doing test shots and stuff like that. I didn't have a portable charger with me, and I wasn't in my car, so I couldn't just go and plug it in and charge it. So get a portable battery charger, because they don't have any batteries up for sale at the time of filming. The strong point for this is going to be in the video, and it's waterproofing and it's gyro stabilization. Price and accessories. I mean, you get every accessory known to man because it's compatible with GoPro attachments. So would I recommend it? I definitely would recommend it. For what you get, for the price, it's definitely something you can use. You tell me in the comments down below, what do you think of the footage? Would you be happy with that sort of footage for a family holiday or a day at the beach with your mates? Maybe some shots of you surfing or scuba diving underwater. I mean, you can't really beat that for the price. The microphone is not too bad. I'd be happy to say that you can record with the microphone on. You could actually vlog with it. Okay, this is the same test, filming in 2.7K, 60 frames per second, so I'll be able to slow it down a bit as well. But here I go, I'm gonna run. So let's face it, to hold this here and have your microphone that's working, recording, no other attachments required, I think that's pretty cool. Should you get the Kaiser Baas X600? Why not? Give it a crack. I mean, it's $229. I think you'll be impressed with it. Do you like the socks? Check the socks out. Thank you for watching. Comments down below. Hit me up. What do you want to see on the video in the new year? I really appreciate you all coming along and supporting me. I'll catch you in the next video. Check ya!